speed, especially some of those not obnoxious signatures at ledge. We'll see how that's going to be able to work out. Himwy already opening off with that side light dash jump, reverse side her. Not going to be able to find that connection though. D-light into the recovery. A couple of good hits dealt onto Himwy.
Yeah, I like to see this from Keith immediately fighting back from Himwy. I find a lot of times their sets can be very one-sided because Himwy's able to smother Keith, but on the Qatar's looking very confident versus this bow, just right above that jump height, so you're able to avoid the side lights. Very smart from Keith.
Okay, nice side light into the sider as well. Himwy gonna be so deep off stage. The neutral perfectly positioned to be able to punish the recovery. You saw Himwy not lean into the recovery, hoping maybe to avoid like a ground pounder downer facing the stage, but Keith waited and was able to successfully punish.
Just a really great start from Keith, who now has the gauntlets in hand versus the Himwy sword, and already showing some pretty solid edge guarding fundamentals there, getting the ground pound for some extra damage, and Himwy you know, able to make it back, but still worse for wear, and a lot of extra credit on the side of Keith, who's looking to control this lead.
Being nice and patient, getting back onto the stage, just barely avoiding the side light, comes back on with the sider though. Keith not going to be picking the weapon back on up. Qatar's in hand once again, just tossing it down, or hopefully get a nice safe way to be able to land. Keith going to be stuck off stage, looking for that GCN sync, not successful. Himwy dash jumps in and goes for the recovery, which is so powerful because it's able to catch you grounded and it's able to position you quite safely and also catch a jump as well.
Yeah, the coverage is the name of the game for Himwy for sure here, who is kind of getting smothered by Keith and the Qatar, so I like to see, you know, leaning more into the sword versus the bow, which has a better time dealing with this very aggressive playstyle. But right now, Himwy able to catch up in the damage department, but Keith on the gauntlets, you can never count him out. This lead could still be his, but yeah, I mean, Himwy is, I think, kind of equalizing here and being really, really solid, and I think it's difficult for Keith in these spots, but as I say that, the edge guard is so sick. The ground pound comes in to close out that stock.
That was such an optimal edge guard. The weapon toss and a ground pound too. And that's what happens when you roll the dice against Gauntlet off stage. Sometimes you just have to hold a stock, and now you play from a deficit. I can't believe that downer didn't connect. That is criminal.
Nice little side air there from Himwy, who looks to even up the stock count, but Keith able to make it back to the wall. The defensive game a lot better on the side of Keith, and as I say, that's the sweat beads come out. The end light taps it in. I'm already caster cursing at 6 in the morning, so maybe I got to stop with that. But nonetheless, we got a last stock here on last stock, and I feel like overall it's been Keith who, even though the stocks equalize, is able to just blow up Himwy off stage. We'll see if he can do it again.
That's right. He's definitely had that wild card factor this game. It felt like at any point he was able to take a stock, but GC D-light into the downer, dashing and dashing out, trying to space out a D-light and then mashing out an end-light as well. But Keith able to go ahead and break that space. Side light, end light, able to catch the dodge, and that is the stock.
That is a ridiculously strong signature for Keith to be able to get there. The side sig, having enough force to KO what I think was about 100 damage. So, I mean, overall, you know, you cash in a read there, expecting Himwy to play pretty scared off stage. I feel like the one thing I'm noticing from Himwy today is the disadvantage state is definitely faltering. Himwy can definitely be very tricky to pin down off stage, but Keith has found a lot of success getting 2 edge guards for stocks and then they're cashing a read with a side sig.
Correct. And, you know, I did want to mention that I did like the way that Himwy was, like, being very patient, getting back onto the stage. But Keith got quite aggressive about it. Keith got quite aggressive. Keith really held down the stage. Keith went out there for the edge guards and was really successful in doing so. And honestly, with Qatars and gauntlets, that's exactly what you're looking for. So, going into the next game, Keith going to be picking up the Qatars, immediately going to be denying Himwy, who picks up the sword, looking for the side light jump, call out with downer. And it feels like a lot of Himwy strings are not really working out nearly as long as Keith's, you know, strings are.
No, I definitely agree. I think even on the bow, which is a weapon that doesn't necessarily have a lot of true confirms, but can definitely be very stringy off a dodge read. You haven't found a lot of success. You're getting kind of smothered, and it continues here with, even on the sword, a weapon that Himwy is so comfortable on. It's struggling to deal with the speed of these Qatars and gauntlets in general from Keith, but right now Himwy with an edge guard attempt going for the downer there, tries to cover the immediate jump, didn't find it, but I mean, Keith is just already ready to be on the offensive, flips the situation, is looking to find a KO on Himwy here. The end light sends off stage, and now you got to be careful because these edge guards have been so consistent. For Keith, who calls out a jump back to center stage with a recovery of his own, and all of a sudden, you look pretty solid in the beginning, but now Keith has a lead.
I did also want to mention it is Bo going back against gauntlets from off stage. It can be a little challenging, right? You don't necessarily have the biggest recovery hitbox in the game, but right now that does not matter because Himwy able to find a recovery of their own, landing back down. Keith gonna be nice and patient, eating a cider is still not gonna be enough to KO here. Himwy jumping back on, slowing it down, going nice and gentle. Keith coming back on with that sidelight, and Keith is getting so much extra credit for the stock, PJ.
Yeah, looking really solid out of the corner, specifically finding ways to reversal Himwy and getting some extra damage for it. Nice recovery there to catch the jump back, but overall, I feel like Keith is able to close out these stocks early, and especially on a character or a legend like Caspian, you definitely want to find those KOs relatively early. You can definitely get into a weird spot where you're struggling to confirm, but really hasn't been a problem for Keith so far, as Himwy, I feel like, is struggling and building up that damage, just hasn't really found the strings as we were talking about earlier.
Okay, but speaking of strings, D-Light into the recovery is going to be able to successfully connect Himwy as a sidelight, using sidelight as a get-off-me option. That Katari Cider sending you at such a nasty angle, able to stage spike as well successfully. Keith is looking phenomenal at the moment.
It's a tough spot to be in there, especially, even on the sword, you can find some difficulty finding a way to put a hitbox out to contest that guitar side air, which just has so much range, just because you're able to move with it. And oh my goodness, getting pieced together by the gauntlet so far. Those definitely cannot feel good, especially with the diamond hands, but man, it is looking tough for Himwy, who just really can't find anything to stick. Another end light, a weapon toss, and more aggression from Keith, who has yet to let up the gas, really, this stock. Just really pushing their lead forward, and Himwy can't find any control. Finally getting a GC downlight into side air. Going for the ground pound there is definitely very risky versus the gauntlets. You're tempting your fate, Himwy. Able to make it back. That side stick almost connected.
Wait, was that the first hit of cider? What happened? It didn't fully
first
connect
hit of cider
itself.
didn't connect, yeah.
First hit of cider connected, the second one, not so lucky for Keith because I think that stage spike would have been it at that position. At the moment though, Himwy with a second reset life, cider sliding off with that D-light, not gonna be able to find it, denying Keith from getting back onto the stage, finally picking up a weapon, but at what cost? GC sidelight. I consider that move like a shove. It pushes you away. Ground pound comes out. PJ, the game is even.
I cannot believe Himwy's found a way to bring this one all the way back. No weapon in hand for Keith, who's struggling to find their way back to center. Fights back with an unarmed end light to get some space, but immediately falters in the defensive game with the downers. And the downers come in, and Himwy is just too clutch, able to fight from out of the corner. Keith whips one sider, gets hit with a down air. Three more follow up, and the recovery comes in.
That was crazy. Well, that cider on the second stock, that was tragic because it felt like that should have been, his game. That felt like the definitive cider. I think there was no way to actually get back onto the stage, and if not, I mean, you're still in a nasty position to get edgeguarded against. The second hit of cider did not connect, and then Himwy made a comeback. So really good stuff to Himwy. Also, GC sidelight hitting from behind. The fact that Swirling sidelight continues hitting from behind. Dang, that's a good move. That's such a good move, PJ.
It is that's tough. Like you just kind of like you feel yourself too much, and I feel like you get into this flow state where you're just like super holding forward, and then I feel like Himwy was able to kind of dissect that game plan pretty well by putting themselves in the corner after getting a string, and then just allowing Keith to kind of run into Himwy's hitboxes, and that was a really tough spot. Definitely that side air, if it was a little bit higher or lower, it wouldn't have been canceled into that geometry on the wall, but you can't really think about that too much if you're Keith here. You got to take this game on Demon Island, and already showing that you definitely have what it takes to do so. Getting the side air and then the down sig follow-up as well. You're talking about those sigs into the corner, and it finds another stock and another victim here in Himwy.
Sometimes you just get edgeguarded by Caspian, and then, those are some of the most powerful edgeguarding tools in the game. You get to deny the stage, and it's so non-committal because of how quick it is. Himwy not able to connect this neutral, are gonna be whipping that D-light and giving Keith a really good opening cue to take advantage of. Keith being nice and patient, D-light comes out. I gotta say, Himwy is kind of struggling on the bow at the moment.
Yeah, we haven't seen as much bow, or I don't even think we've seen a KO on the bow, so it's definitely tough to see why you're playing Koji. Maybe you just want to play a high deck sword versus Caspian, but
and the
it's
sword
definitely
is
tough.
working out swimmingly. Like we were seeing the amount of hits connecting to, but that's going to be it once again. Keith gonna be denying Himwy from the stage, and I feel like that is Keith's win condition: edge guarding and ledge trapping Himwy.
Yeah, the SIGs are coming in and they're really forcing Himwy to rethink how you're getting off of the wall. A lot of times it's safe to kind of jump around the wall, but versus the Caspian SIGs on Katars, you can get scooped up by them or just outright KO'd. Nice down like Cider. Speaking of scoop ups, as Himwy closes out his stock there and has a chance to bring this one back, throwing the bow away, looking to cycle another sword because, you know, the comeback of the last game came on the back of a sword, so it makes sense to kind of lean into it now, which is a good spot for Himwy here. Has the wall to Keith, who's getting pieced up by these downlights right now.
Such coverage. Covering over the ledge is going to put you at a vulnerable position. Sidelight to be able to punish the GC. Sidelight backing off a little bit, picking up the Katars. Himwy not able to successfully deny. Held without a weapon for just a moment. Downer catching the landing with the D-Light. Able to get the Cider. Is this going to be the Edgeguard PJ?
Gonna have to find something here if you're Himwy. You get the double exclamation point, you look to tap it in, you got another end light, and that should be the end of the stock. Yes, it is, with the GC end light from Himwy, and you took a little bit of damage there, but you're happy to equalize the stocks. This is exactly what happened in the last game. So you definitely cannot count out Himwy yet. The sword in hand versus the Katars, the same matchup that really was able to allow Himwy to get back in the game. We'll see if Keith can change it up this game.
Honestly, Himwy on the sword, really difficult to beat at the moment. Himwy on bow, I feel like that's going to be a little bit easier for Keith. Himwy makes it back onto the stage, albeit sweating. Going to be eating that recovery. Doesn't get KO'd off the top quite yet. Being nice and patient. Recovery into neutral. Not going to be able to actually follow up.
Oh, the dash jump turnaround side air to call out a dodge through was crazy from Himwy. Doesn't get punished either, which could have been a big opportunity for Keith to capitalize on the Katars right now, looking to scour out any single hit. The side air into the immediate dodge gets punished with a side light of Himwy, and throwing out a lot of SIGs at the corner there, Ben. You just can't find anything sticking.
Yeah, these recoveries, they're not connecting. That is the difficulty with Katars sometimes, right? It can be so hard to find that final confirm. And now, continuing to deny Keith of a weapon here. Okay, huge downer. And like gonna be setting you off stage. You're going up against Gauntlet. You're afraid of Sidelight. You're afraid of D-Light. You're afraid of Cider. And you're afraid of N-Light. Himwy, you have to keep away. And you are not gonna do so successfully as Keith finds that recovery to take it off the top.
Himwy hit a downlight but wasn't able to get the jump input out and drops downlight into side air. If you go for a recovery there, it at least connects and you don't get punished for it. What an unfortunate drop from Himwy in that last positioning where you just have to hit that combo. You miss that downlight, you miss that confirm off of downlight, you're in a terrible spot versus Gauntlet, and Keith is able to capitalize with the wake up recovery. A crazy drop, kind of similar to the last game, how Keith, you know, whiffs a confirm or an edge guard and is able to snowball the game. There, Keith getting some revenge there on that whiff. And oh my goodness.
Yeah, that is not the kind of a whiff that you're looking for. And, you know, I actually still don't understand why Himwy is sticking with the Koji at the moment. Again, I'm loving the sword, but it does feel like the bow has not had a lot of presence, and Himwy has been whiffing a lot with the bow.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like you're definitely leaning into playing high deck sword. That I think that's what Himwy is thinking of, is like, I want a weapon that has, you know, a good amount of range, but is also quick enough to kind of compete with the speed of Caspian. That might be what you're looking for, but it is odd to me, like, fully committing to this, not using your second weapon at all, essentially. But hey, what do I know? It seems to be working out so far for Himwy.
That's right. Himwy backing off. Gonna be looking for the dash jump down, who doesn't find so successfully. Doesn't find the jump call out either. Eats a Cider, stuck off stage. Keith just threatening with a ground pound, threatening with a downer. Able to catch Himwy jumping back on with a Cider. Left sweating, and now just gonna be falling to his demise. Keith with a massive lead at the moment.
I feel like we got to put more credit to Keith's gauntlets, which have found, I mean, a lot of success, able to close out that last game with recovery. There you see an Edgeguard really finding ways to pick apart the offstage play that Himwy's presenting with the sword. Maybe lean into the gauntlets a little bit more. The Katars, I feel like, have been kind of solved by Himwy a little bit. We'll see, though.
Okay. Sliding in with that D-Light, excuse me. Not going to find a whiff punish on that quite yet. We're slowing down the pace of the game for just a second. Coming in with the side light. That is not going to be the follow-up quite yet. Himwy looking for a landing. Does land before Keith gets the catch on the landing, which is huge. You get all of your jumps back. And now, once again, you can stay alive. D-Light into recovery. The classic does come out, and it does successfully KO off the top.
Kind of that control and having those consistent KO confirms are going to be so important in a matchup this quick. I think the little connection on the recovery there, but even on the unharmed, Keith is looking to continue to push their lead. Okay, a bow gets picked up by Himwy. Finally, it looks like wanting to play into the bow here, or maybe not. We'll see.
You whip that side in. Okay, you find that one committing off stage to the ground pound and using the weapon toss to keep himself nice and safe as a little bit of an insurance policy. The jump call out with the recovery. And honestly, I have seen Himwy get punished for those jumps in that exact position multiple times. Qatar D-Light, Qatar Cider, and that time around, just a straight up recovery off the top.
Nice little pick up there with the recovery, getting some nice damage on the Qatar. It's very important to take the damage where you can get it, but right now Himwy once again down 2 stocks to 1, looking to make a comeback happen, but put a helmet on because you got a half pipe from Keith and a lot of damage on the Qatars. Really running away with these strings, holding the ground really, really effectively. You can't find any sort of control on the ground versus the Qatars, and picking up the gauntlets, looking to finalize this set with a KO. Wow. Gets it there, and like GC downlight recovery as a true confirm to close out the set. Keith, a 3-1 over Himwy. Very, very dominant game in the last game.
The new Trilo GCD light, that was just like a dodge read, or Himwy didn't have a dodge, right? Is that true? I don't think so.
I know Nair GC